All right, it finally happened. We got that official real Rebirth trailer at Summer Game Fest, and I just want to formally apologize right now to Final Fantasy 16. I am so sorry. Rebirth came out, stole your thunder. I am so excited. Look, Final Fantasy 16 is going to be great. I'm going to get it when it comes out. I'm going to play it, and I'm sure I will love it. It's going to be fantastic. But this right here, man, this is what I want. Square Enix, give me what I want.
Give it to me! Give me what I want!
And all joking aside, this is one of those situations where a rising tide raises all ships. So people seeing Rebirth is going to get them excited for Rebirth, but it could lead them to 16 as well, and vice versa. So this is really, honestly, great marketing for both of these games. And it's a great time to be a Final Fantasy fan. So there's a ton of stuff that was in this trailer that we're going to break down. We're going to start with the gameplay stuff first, and then we're going to go conspiracy mode on the story stuff. But before we get to the gameplay stuff, the biggest thing here is that while we don't have a firm release date, we have a release window now, which is early 2024. So I think they're going to try and mimic what they did with VII Remake and get that game out probably in February or early March. So we have the release window. And yes, this game is so massive, it needs 2 full Blu-ray discs to contain it. That's right, it's coming shipped on 2 discs. We're going back old school to the PlayStation days where you had 2 discs, 3 discs, and 4 discs for your games. This is absolutely insane. So let's just go ahead and get to the gameplay breakdown of what we saw in this trailer. We get our shots of the open world stuff, the open world traversal, and it looks awesome. It kind of reminds me of Final Fantasy 15, but much more colorful. There's obviously going to be much more to do in this world, more locations, a lot of really beautiful foresty areas too that looked really great. And we got to see the Chocobo farm, and there's a quick shot too of Red 13 in front of the Chocobo barn, just taking a little cat nap out in the sun, and it's super cute and adorable. We do see 4 of our party members riding on a Chocobo, so there might be a section of the game where maybe Red 13 stays at the barn while the other 4 party members, Cloud, Aerith, Tifa, and Barrett, get to ride chocobos, or maybe Red 13 just doesn't need a chocobo and he can run alongside everybody. But that's what was really cool, is on the world map, our entire party was there, running alongside out in the open. So it might be a situation where in the battle stuff, 2 of our party members will just disappear. I'm really curious to see how they handle that, or if they implement that PHS system. And what's cool about the chocobos too is that we can call them at will, and it looks like we might be able to look for treasure on our chocobos because there's options for scent and scour. So there might be side quests or items nearby that only a chocobo can find with their nose, and we have to get on the chocobos to then find that stuff. So that's pretty cool. After that, we get our first big battle section of the trailer with Barrett and Red 13. It looks like they've been separated from the rest of the party in the Mithril Caves. And we do see later on Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith are fighting Alina and Rude from the Turks. So somehow our party gets split up, and Barrett and Red 13 have to fight this huge mithril rock monster. And we see our first playable footage of Red 13 going ham. He's slicing and dicing, he's zipping and dipping, he's spinning like a top. His unique triangle ability is called Vengeance Mode, so I'm really curious to see what that is. Maybe it's kind of like a bloodthirst kind of thing where he just goes absolutely nuts and unleashes a barrage of attacks. It's gonna be cool to see what that is. And one of the things I noticed right away is if you look at the character information bar, you've got the name, you've got your HP, you've got your limit break, and you've got your ATB bar. But underneath the ATB bar are these tiny little pips, and I'm not sure what they are, but I think these might be our dual tech team up pips. So maybe you only have a certain amount per battle. Maybe they can restore themselves during battle based on different functions. Maybe you can sacrifice a bit of ATB to fill up that dual tech pip bar. That was one thing that really stood out to me the most. So I think that's what those are going to be related to. When we got gameplay of Aerith, her triangle ability seems to have shifted from Tempest to Ward Shift. I don't recall if Ward Shift was a thing in VII Remake. I know she could cast a ward, but her unique ability I remember was called Tempest. So that's going to be interesting to see what that is as well. Again, we got that cutscene battle with Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith fighting Elena, who sounds super spunky and rude. There's a really cool cutscene where Cloud and Tifa are kind of distracting Alina. They go back to back and then they split up and Aerith just launches a magic attack at Alina, and it's so cool. And the entire trailer is scored using the Valkyrie music from VII Remake, which is a fantastic track, super upbeat and perfect to score this trailer, especially the second half when all of the action really kicks in. It looks like Cloud's operator mode also got an upgrade. We see a shot where he's just going super speed on an enemy, slashing like crazy. It looks like they might have made some alterations to operator to set it apart a little bit more from Punisher, because Punisher was obviously very slow, counter-based, and it looks like operator mode might be the complete opposite, where Cloud can just kind of unleash now and go super pre-workout mode and juggle some enemies. We get some more footage of Red 13 spinning like a top out in the open field battle, and then we get what we've all been hoping for, those dual tech attacks. In the first one we see is Aerith and Tifa. We hear Aerith actually call out Tifa's name, and Tifa is right next to Aerith, and Aerith seems to give her some sort of magical boost that launches Tifa in the air, and Aerith has cast a magical ward, like this big bubble that Tifa then smashes through on the enemy, so that was really cool. Yuffie and Red 13 get their own team up dual tech attack where they slash at an enemy, they fly into the air, and then Yuffie sits on Red 13's back as they come down and hit the enemy with a massive explosion. And then we get Cloud and Barret teaming up. Cloud launches forward, slashes an enemy, tosses them in the air. Barret shoots the crap out of them, hits them with a big blast, and then finally Cloud finishes the enemy off with what looks either like an energy-based attack or maybe like an elemental attack, but he swings a sword, swipes up into the air, and they just take out that enemy completely. And then we finally get to that cargo ship battle with the Genova creature. Nothing too crazy going on there, other than the fact that this is a massive battle now. The area itself is huge, the creature itself is bigger, so this is clearly like the power of the PlayStation 5 coming into play, allowing for larger scale boss battles and areas, so that's going to be super cool. And as far as gameplay goes, that seems to be everything we've seen so far in this trailer. I don't know if I missed anything, but gameplay looks like a complete refinement of what we got in VII Remake. Everything we loved, plus the addition of dual techs, some tweaks here and there to some of the characters' battle modes. It's gonna be insane. I cannot wait to see what else they have in store, and to finally see people like Vincent and Sid and Kate Sith actually get in on the action. Now, moving on from gameplay, we got story stuff. So the opening of the trailer opens up with the destruction of Sector 2. A huge tornado has hit, which is, I'm assuming, the singularity that hit at the end of VII Remake. The singularity that took out seemingly different timelines. All of space and time experienced that massive tornado, and what happened? That tornado happened to hit Sector 2, and we see Tifa, Red 13, Barret, and Aerith on stretchers being loaded into a Shinra helicopter. It's not sure if they're dead or if they're just in a coma, but Cloud is nowhere to be seen because obviously Cloud is doing something different now. Zack is alive, he rescued Cloud, so we don't know where Cloud is or what he's off doing. He could be delivering mail for all we know, but seemingly so far, our main party is going to be out of action in Zack's timeline. And this has to be Zack's timeline. There's no other way that you could explain this, so it's definitely some funky time stuff. Obviously, we see our party enter the open world, and we really get to see the effects that Shinra has had going outside of Midgar. We see these, what looks like these huge Mako pipelines, and we see how even though some of the vegetation and stuff is still alive, Red 13 mentions like, yeah, things look okay, but things are obviously worse than they appear. So Shinra has clearly done a lot of damage to this environment. We get some story stuff with Tifa where she actually starts to question to Aerith what's going on with Cloud. She knows 5 years ago Cloud was not in Nibelheim, so what has he been doing this entire time? So that's something they touched on in the original game, but it seems like they're actually going to go full bore in Rebirth, with Tifa really questioning like, what's going on, Cloud? What are you doing? Something's not adding up. We get our first official look at Bugenhagen, and he looks dope. Mr. Flying Man with the cool facial hair. He's explaining essentially the life stream and how it acts as the planet's lifeblood to our party, and that's all we get of Bugenhagen, but I'm pretty sure that when we actually see more, it's going to be some really stellar stuff. I'm really curious to see the underground Cosmo Canyon stuff with Bugenhagen and Red 13, and just to see how gnarly they really get with some of the creature designs in that area, because it is a spooky environment. We see the Mithril Cave caves. Again, this is where our party gets separated. Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith are off. They run into the Turks, unfortunately, and that's when we get the introduction to Alina, who might be a little bit in over her head here, because we're going to lay the smackdown on her with our party. We do hear a voiceover of who sounds like Rufus, where he's talking about the Genova clones. He calls them, I think, the Shadow of the Mad, or the Shadow of the Man. It's a little hard to hear, but he's basically referencing how they're related to Sephiroth. We see our party in calm in the inn actually discussing like, hey, wait a second, didn't we beat Sephiroth? Didn't we kill him? But somehow he's still alive. And Tifa even questions like, why now? Why 5 years after Nibelheim is Sephiroth now coming back? What's his plan? We get a pretty quick shot of what looks like the Junon Harbor. We see Cloud and Red 13 approaching it, and what looks to be the High Wind up on a platform. I'm pretty sure that's what that was. Might be another ship, but it definitely looked like the High Wind. So Junon is going to be in the game. We're going to get to explore it. This is super cool and exciting because we get to see that huge ass cannon just hanging there. Again, we get that Genova battle in the cargo ship. Yuffie runs into the Genova creature first, and she's freaking out. She wants to get out of there. She's saying, keep her away from me. So this Genova creature is obviously going to be popping up like it did in the original game, but maybe even more so now. And we do get to hear some really great voiceover from Tyler Hoechlin as Sephiroth, where he's talking about Genova and what this creature is. And he mentioned some really interesting stuff about how Genova is something that can become anything, and she can become someone you fear, and she can also become somebody that you love, which kind of ties into the twist ending of the trailer. But before we get to that, we do see those reunion clones again, and they look and sound like Cloud. Getting back to that other major twist at the very end of the trailer, Sephiroth straight up says, and it seems like he's alluding to Tifa because that's who we're seeing in the cutscene, that he killed Tifa 5 years ago. He slashed her, she was gone. So who is this person now in your party who is masquerading as Tifa? Because that's not her. So is this a situation where Tifa really did die 5 years ago and we're somehow stuck with a clone? Or is this just Sephiroth messing with Cloud and the party to really get into their heads and screw with them to make them question all of reality? Because in the original game, obviously we know Tifa doesn't die. Her master is the one that actually rescues her. So Sephiroth doesn't see any of that. So it's possible that he didn't know about that, or he's just messing with Cloud and Tifa because he knows what's really going on. It's insane. So that's what I've been able to gather from the trailer. It's a great trailer, almost like 3.5 minutes long. I'm gonna go watch it like 5 more times. My only issue is that Square tends to release their trailers with a really awful bitrate. So trying to watch it in 1080p, all the action hits and then the bitrate goes to hell, and I'm hoping for a 4K copy later on. But that was our first official real meaty story and gameplay trailer for Rebirth, and I am super excited. I'm gonna watch it again just to see if there's anything I might have missed. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about the gameplay, about this cool story stuff. Do you think Sephiroth is just messing with Cloud and Tifa? Did Tifa really die? And what do you think those little pips are under the ATB bar? Because I'm pretty sure those are dual tech pips. But I am Curious Corduroy. I will see you guys in the next video. Please remember to always be excellent to one another.